Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. Thought I'd give you some more preliminary feedback on the 2022 1GD FTV GX Prado. If you haven't watched our other videos, it's probably best to watch those couple on fuel economy. We've got a whole heap of fuel economy videos. I think we've got a playlist. Yeah, it's probably called Fuel Economy Information or something like that. Just have a browse through our playlists. If you haven't already subscribed, turn the bell on, because you're just going to miss out on information, and then when new videos come out, when they pop up as recommendations, you might not sort of know. It pays to sort of stay in tune. You know, it's like skipping a chapter if you've missed a few, so it's worthwhile just watching that video a day for 10 minutes. So we haven't quite cracked 1,000 Ks yet. It's I think it's about 850 or so. A few hundred Ks ago, I think it was. Again, you got to go by the videos. I don't remember everything, but we put the all-terrain tyres on. So first thing I just want to recap is we did a run from Melbourne to Maldon, which is near Bendigo, up the highway. Sort of regular runs we do up to that those sort of areas up there, semi-regular sort of thing, you know, many times a year, let's say. And the economy we were getting in the 2019 was a lot worse. So preliminary, from one trip we got 9 litres per 100 Ks, including the first DPF burn, which was absolutely awesome. Remember, totally stock vehicle, road tyres and everything. Now, you're going to think, oh, well, the tyres don't make that much difference, but you're about to find out, because the tyres are one of the biggest contributors to the change in fuel economy. Even if you're not changing the size, just putting on a heavy all-terrain tyre does change quite a lot. And I'm going to give you some examples. So this sort of driving we're just doing now, you know, moving with the traffic, generally just get going at a normal pace, not racing, not going slow, consistent in traffic. Like now we look ahead, we see a red light down the hill, so we back off the gas. So this sort of driving, what we did when we put the all-terrain tyres on, I think, what was it? It was about 500 or 600 Ks, somewhere around there. We put the all-terrain tyres on. And I also reset the trip computer. So I'll give you an idea. The engine's been running 8 minutes. So far we're on 12.4 litres per 100 Ks since the engine started. So under after start. If we go down to after reset, we're on 9.9 for the last few hundred Ks since we reset it, which has been 6 hours of driving, 6 hours and 31 minutes since we reset it. 9.9 it's on. What was it on before we reset it? It was on 9.1. if I remember correctly. Again, check the previous video. So that would tell us that we're up about 1 litre per 100 Ks, but the first 500 Ks included that highway run that this run hasn't included yet. And I'm not saying that the highway run's any better or worse. It all depends what speed you're traveling at, and obviously headwinds and up undulations, uphill, downhill, that sort of thing. So to be fair, this 500 Ks I'm not going to compare to the first 500 Ks, but I will have another video that compares 500 Ks or 1,000 or 2,000, whatever, to be fair with at least one of those runs. So it'll be when we do a comparison, I've got no reason to tell you you're getting better or worse fuel economy and make things up. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm here to help. So there's a few things we've got out there that is designed to help you, and obviously including the recommendations for who to go to, who not to go to, and sharing a heap of information so you can either learn to do it yourself or find people that, you know, if you've got the information, you can then talk to people and go, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, this seems like the right sort of person. Because there's a lot of problems with things, as you may have seen in the videos, and it's not just the automotive industry. So currently on 9.9. Now what I'll say is, so preliminary on the highway, that 9 litres per 100 K trip with a DPF burn is absolutely just so much better. Normally when we headed up those hills up through Gisborne, we'd see 15, 14, it might come down to 13. About the best I remember seeing is 12 by the time we turned off the highway, which would be either we'd go into Bendigo or we could go off the highway to the left or the right, depends where we were headed. But by the time we got there, or just before there, where we turned off, say 20 Ks before, or we could have been heading towards Epiloc or whatever the case may be, the best I remember seeing was around 12s is what we saw. So to see 9s is awesome. To be fair, I'm going to do exactly the same drive. I'm going to leave the same, drive the same. I had the cruise control set on 114. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to make sure there's no wind and everything's the same other than the all-terrain tyres. So you're going to find out exactly what the difference is. So it'll either be 9.5 or 10 or 9 or 8 or whatever the case may be. but in that video we'll also include you know, what the after reset is, and I may reset it again between now and then to include about 500 Ks, including that trip, to be as similar as possible to that first trip. Now, it might seem really good that the economy was 9 litres per 100 Ks compared to the other vehicle, and that's awesome. So because the torque converter is locked up and the vehicle does it so easy, that is definitely, I'd say, a massive improvement. I'm going to say it's at least 10 to 20%, just at a guess, regardless from, you know, seat of the pants. I've got that kind of feeling, do you know what I mean? And there, I said, I haven't said, have I not said that for a while anyway? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I say that a bit. Anyway, the other important factor is what I've noticed in the last few hundred Ks in the lead up to this, about 850. What do we got? I'll have a look. What do we got on the odometer at the moment? We got 861, right? So in the next 300 or 400 Ks since we changed the tyres, I think I changed the tyres at about 500. We'll call it 500 just to be thereabouts. What I have noticed is a lot worse fuel economy in all the other normal sort of driving we're doing, like what we're doing now. Whether it's, you know, I don't really do too many short trips, but initially in the first couple of thousand Ks, just in testing fuel economy, that sort of thing, we do a bit. You know, everybody, you know, you get a new car, everybody wants to just drive it, right? So it doesn't go to the shops and get the door dints and all that sort of thing, but it goes places like drives like this. So I've noticed a lot worse. Just the general, you know, just the general looking at it since the reset, and looking at it since the after start each morning, right? So after reset, 9.9, and when I look at it after start and I get to my trip destination, just in my mind, I'm seeing figures around the 10. The 10s are more like what we're seeing, right? So rest assured, it's not getting 9s for whatever reason anymore, or when it's not on the highway. Is it going to get, it'll be very interesting to see. I don't know if it's going to get 9s, 10s or what, but this sort of driving, we're in an 80 zone, so we haven't got a lot of wind resistance. This is the typical sort of driving. If we've been in any 100 zones, not speeding, it's been maximum 100, right? As soon as we see the lights change, unfortunate miss of the lights there for no reason. You know, lights, they don't work too well, do they? They just cost, well, there was a car waiting, so there you go. 2 cars. Hang on, there's more coming, 3, 4. And in case people missed it, some people look at the camera and they go, oh, you know, why are you so close and all that? It's just the way the camera is, probably the level that it's mounted, and quite often it looks like I'm closer than I am and I've gone further and all that sort of thing. So just beware of the camera, the trick of the camera. It's a paradox. Anyway, hope you get my drift. So comparing, if I was to compare the 2019 to the 2021, 2022, 2020, whatever, the one with the remap, right, let's be clear here, that when it changed in 2020, the way you pick it out is, you know, the bigger clamps on the turbo, on the hose and that's the easiest way for the everyday person to go, oh yeah, this must be the updated one. In a previous video on one of our YouTube channels, I showed you those new clamps, because the old, you know, they're just an old school clamp. They were slipping, whatever. They've updated to these awesome clamps. I don't know what type they're actually called, so there you go. I don't know everything, but I can tell you they're awesome. That's how you pick it. Now, if I was to compare the pair, I'll tell you, this sort of driving, they get about exactly the same fuel economy, okay? About exactly the same, and they're about the same to drive. I wouldn't say, oh, this one's got heaps more power. The way it works is, this one's laggy up to 1800, and it's got a little bit more responsiveness after that. So as I explained in another video, there's about 4 aspects to it. If you floor it from the lights and take off racing, they just both take off rev, and look, although one would be a bit quicker than the other, you don't notice it, so there's no real thrill there. The negative of the newer one is it's got that bit of lag there, a bit more than the other one, which they both had a bit of lag. It's the 150 Proto thing, but there's a bit more there, but it's got a little bit more responsiveness from, you know, I don't know why we're doing 55 and an 80 zone really, but anyway, what will happen is I'll change lanes and everyone will get going there, and then we'll get another red light. So, not much difference for the general running around. Most people aren't going to notice, but on the highway, where you've got the torque converter lockup, and you've got probably the bigger turbo works better at those sorts of revs, it certainly seems the highway economy is a lot better. That's what it seems like at the moment. City driving, normal driving, No difference. Like, it's still on 9.9. Hang on, that's on after reset. Let me go to after start. Sorry, we're on 11.6, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is why you got to stick around. I'm about done. Okay. Yeah, 11.6 litres per 100 k's after 16 minutes driving, average speed 36 k's an hour. Not racing, not anything, just your typical driving. So this is what you can expect to get. We've got the BFG KO2s on. It's a GX, it's nice and light, there's no bull bar, there's nothing else. The vehicle's empty. It's only got half a tank of fuel. It's very light. If I was to go on the weighbridge right now with me in it, it's probably about 2.4 tonne, 2,400 kilos. Doesn't get any lighter than that. To be fair, the BFGs, they only put about 36 PSI in them when they were fitted. I didn't know that. For the first couple hundred Ks, we're running around on lower pressures. Now, why did we get 9? Well, the dealer, did they do their pre-delivery properly? Because they left 41 PSI in the tyres. From factory, the tyres are inflated generally, and most manufacturers, to about 40 PSI would be the most common sort of thing. And yeah, so that's maybe one reason why we got awesome economy. They need to come down to closer to 30, 32, 34, it depends on your load once again, each to their own, tyre wear and all that sort of thing. But the KO2s, being a more aggressive tyre with worse rolling resistance, they were down on 36. So it would be fair to reset the trip computer again, do about 500 Ks, including that exact same trip, report the exact same trip to see how it was comparing to the 9, and then the overall that was 9.1, because at the moment, after starts come down to 11.1, so we're improving. Okay, but I just want to tell you, after reset is still 9.9. That's going to change in a hurry. So we're looking like it could be 0.8 of a litre more, but then we're running a little bit on lower pressures. So how about this? Right now, I'm going to go to after reset. I'm resetting it right now. I've just reset it. So for the record, 860 Ks. We'd like to put in the video, and I'll let you know the preliminary. The next video will be preliminary findings, then we'll move on from preliminary to some other findings, guys. Hope you found it informative. Hope it helps you if you're trying to make a decision whether you should keep your old car, buy a new one, keep gathering the information. I hope you didn't miss any videos, because there's lots of pros and cons to all these vehicles. In my personal opinion, from only owning and driving a 2019, of the 1GDs, I believe that was not acceptable, and therefore the 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, all the way through to the change, is not acceptable the way the transmission software works. That's just my opinion, but I understand the operation of the transmission and what it's doing to the heat of the transmission and the fuel economy. It's so annoying, I just couldn't stand it, but that's just my opinion. You may own one and love it and not notice, and that's fine if that's what you want and you're happy with. I just give you the information for those that want to accept it.
Please obey all traffic regulations.
Obey all traffic, geez, what am I doing now? Speeding. Oh, that's the other problem with these technology. You can turn a lot of this stuff off and adjust it, but quite often it's got old information, so on the maps and stuff, so you've got your camera that reads the speed, but quite often if there hasn't been a sign or there's an old speed limit in place from a roadway, it hasn't updated, you get told to bloody. And then if you want to turn it off, then you won't get told when it's right, if you know what I mean. So you got a conundrum, you got a technology conundrum with these newer vehicles. It's great to have the help in case you do forget, right? Because we want to be safe and not get home with a $300 bill in the letterbox that we don't need, of course. But you know, if it's telling you to it's a 40 zone when it's an 80 zone or something like that, it's problems. Anyway guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. That's a bada bing, bada boom. Hope you liked it. See ya.